Hi folks, welcome to another video on Android CICD series, and in this video we will basically now talk about how to distribute the APKs that we generate as a part of the CICD run to the testers. And this is going to be the last part of the CICD series. So without much further ado, let's get into a discussion. A successful build only proves that an APK was created, but not that the tester can access it or install it. Our GitHub Action workflow has completed successfully and created an Android APK. Everything looks good so far. Here is the APK created by the workflow. As a developer, I can see that the build is completed and APK is ready. But this APK is still stored inside a GitHub Actions. To download it, someone needs repository access and must know where to find it. Our QA tester may not have the repository access or know how GitHub Actions work. So although the build succeeded, we have not actually delivered the APK to the tester. The APK itself is ready. The real problem is how people can access it. Let us see how the experience differs for developer and tester. We start with one APK. The APK itself does not change based on who receives it. But the same APK can reach people in two different ways. One for the developers and one for the testers. A developer usually starts inside a GitHub Actions. They already have a repository access and know where to look. The developer opens the workflow, runs it, finds artifacts section and downloads the APK. This is fine for the developers who already know GitHub Actions and how they work and where to find it. The testers get a notification with the release notes. They do not need to search through the GitHub Actions. The tester can open the release and install it directly. It is the same APK, but the experience is different and much simpler. So simply moving the APK is not enough. To deliver it reliably, a few important pieces must come together. Before choosing any tool, let us understand what reliable distribution actually needs. I see it at least as five important parts. The first, we need an APK to send and a clear list of people who should receive it. That is the artifact and the audience. Next, we need to control who can access the APK and tell the testers what changed in this release. That basically means access, who is allowed, and the release notes along with the artifact. Finally, we need to know exactly which APK was sent and where it went. When all five parts are present, delivery becomes reliable. If we remove access control, anyone may receive the build. We still have an APK and testers, but the delivery is no longer safe. Once access control returns, the platform becomes stable again. Each of these five parts have its own job. Now that we know what a reliable distribution needs, let us choose the right tool by asking few simple questions. We have many ways to distribute an APK. Instead of choosing a favorite tool, let us first understand what we actually need. Our audience is a small group of invited external testers, so we can remove options meant mainly for developers like public links or company managed devices. For this reason, we do not need to test the Google Play installation process. That means we can remove the Play based options. This is an early access release meant for QA feedback. We want to send builds quickly and get feedback and repeat this particular loop until and unless we finally deploy it to production. So that is the release maturity that we are looking at. We already use Firebase and Google Cloud. Adding another service would mean more setup and more complicated things to maintain. After answering all these questions, Firebase App Distribution fits this demo the best. It is right for this situation, but it may not be right for every project. Firebase works well for this demo that we are going to do in this video, but other options are still useful in different situations. So let's quickly compare them. There is no one distribution option that is best for everyone. Each option solves different problem. These options move an APK directly from the build to a person. They are fast, but each one gives a different level of control and tester support. The play-based options are useful when we need to test the Google Play experience, use testing tracks, or control access through Play. MDM and third-party services can give us more device control or special integrations, but they also bring more setup and maintenance. We must also check whether a service is still available. For example, App Center is not just a poor choice for this demo. The service has been completely retired. So do not choose a tool because it is popular. Choose the one that fits your audience, testing needs, release stage, and the available time. We have chosen Firebase for this workflow. Let us see where all the required settings and secrets actually come from. The setup happens across 4 different places. It can become confusing when we do not know which place gives us which value. Firebase gives us the Android app ID and the tester group that should receive the release. Google Cloud gives us the service account and the permission that allows to distribute the builds. And our local machine, that is the place where we prepare the signing key store. GitHub stores the settings and secrets that the workflow will use. The Firebase app ID is a setting, not a secret. We copy it from the Firebase and store it as a GitHub environment variable. The downloaded service account JSON contains the sensitive credentials. We store it safely in the GitHub secrets as a Firebase service account JSON. We convert the key store into base64 text and store it as a release key store base64. Base64 basically makes it easier to store, but it does not encrypt the file. All the required values are now available in GitHub. The workflow can use each one when it needs it. I will quickly show you how this actually looks in the real interface. If you come to the Firebase, I have created an application called as version demo rehearsal. This is the same application that we have implemented here, that is version demo fundamentals. We want to distribute this particular app for the testing. That's the whole idea. To ensure that the CICD works properly, the first thing that we have done is we have configured this application in the Firebase. It has a name, ID, project number, and everything. These settings are important, and these will be copy pasted in the GitHub secrets. And if you go and check your GitHub environments, I have created an environment here called as production, and under this particular production, I have copy pasted different set of secrets. These secrets are different from the GitHub Actions secret. You can see that this comes under the environment. So these are not the same secrets that we had created earlier under Actions. Under Actions also we have different set of secrets, but those are different ones. Under environments, I have the secrets which I need for distribution purpose, the Firebase based app distribution. And then I have this Google Cloud IAM service, and here I have created a principal, and it has Firebase App Distribution admin access. It is with this particular access, you should be able to basically distribute the APK to the right testing group. Testers group that we have created called as Android testers, and we have added certain email IDs to whom we want to send APK file. So if you want to add more and more testers, you have to just create add group or select an existing group and add more number of email IDs here. And every time the CI/CD runs and the APK gets uploaded through the Firebase distribution mechanism, that is this one, app distribution Firebase mechanism, these email IDs should get a notification. We now know where each value comes from. Next, let us create them in the correct order because some steps depend on the earlier steps. This is more than a checklist. Some steps cannot happen until an earlier step is complete. We start by creating a Firebase project. The Android app and the testers group will be created inside this particular project. Next, we register our Android app. Firebase then gives us an Android app ID needed for the workflow. We create a testers group so that the Firebase knows who should receive the releases. Next, we create a service account. This is the identity that our automated workflow will use. But creating the service account is not enough. Without the distribution admin role, Firebase will reject upload with 403 permission error. We now give the service account the Firebase App Distribution admin role. This allows us to upload the releases. We download the service account JSON key. The workflow will use this particular file to prove which service account it is using. Separately, we create a release key store on our local machine and convert it into a base64 text so it can be stored in a GitHub. In GitHub, we create environment. This gives us one protected place for the workflow settings and secrets. We now add the value collected from the Firebase, Google Cloud, and our local machine into the GitHub environment. Everything is ready. GitHub Actions can now build the APK, sign it, and send it to the testers group. Inside this workflow, signing the APK and sending it to the Firebase are two separate jobs. Each job needs its own type of credentials. The workflow has two protected jobs. First, it is sign the APK and then it sends the APK to the Firebase. The signing key proves who built the APK. It is like putting the developer's trusted signature on the release. Then the workflow uses the correct signing key. It creates an APK whose developer signature can be checked. But this signing key cannot upload the APK to the Firebase. It proves who built the APK, but it does not give permission to deliver it. For delivery, we need a different set of credentials. These credentials prove that the workflow is allowed to send releases to the Firebase. Firebase checks these distribution credentials and allows the upload. The release succeeds because we use the signing key for signing and distribution credentials for delivery. The distribution credentials tell Firebase who the workflow is, but the identity still needs permission. Let us see how Google Cloud actually grants it. This downloaded JSON key tells Firebase that the workflow is using rehearsal distribution service account. We just saw that we are using this principle called as rehearsal distribution account. This is exactly what we are talking about. So we have to basically establish the relationship that who is distributing this particular APK. That is, it is being distributed by this rehearsal distribute. Firebase recognizes the service account, but it still blocks the upload. The account exists, but it does not yet have the permission to distribute the release. That permission is not stored inside the JSON key. We must grant it separately in the Google Cloud IAM service. That is where we created a principle. We give this service account the Firebase App Distribution admin role. It now has the permission to upload the release. The service account tries again using the same JSON key. This time, the Firebase also sees the new permission granted in the Google Cloud. Now, Firebase knows who the workflow is and confirms that it has the permission, so the upload is allowed. The service account can now complete the distribution. For automated workflows, we now use a service account with the correct IAM role. The older Firebase token approach is deprecated, so be aware of it. Next, it must find the correct APK and send it to matching Firebase. Our Android project can create more than one APK. Depending upon if you have more than multiple build variants, you can create free and paid variants, and they might be stored in different folders. If we search every folder, we find two APKs. The workflow cannot safely guess which one we want. So we first choose the variant we want to distribute. Let us start with the free variant, for example, assuming that we have a free variant. Now the workflow searches only inside free variant folder. This gives us the correct free APK without guessing. We save this exact file location as APK path in the GitHub environment. The later steps can now use the same APK. We also connect the free variant of the APK to the Firebase app ID created for the free variant. If we switch to the paid variant, the old free APK path and app ID are no longer correct. The workflow searches inside the paid folder and updates the APK path with the paid APK location. Finally, we connect the paid APK to the paid Firebase app ID. The APK and the Firebase app must always belong to the same variant. We now have the correct APK and the correct Firebase app. All we have to do is run the complete workflow and see what happens in the each step. I will quickly show you how that CICD looks like. If you have a look at this, all previous steps in this are pretty much same what we have done earlier. We set up the Gradle, everything, but then from here onwards the things slightly start changing. The first thing we do is we validate the release and Firebase secrets because those are available in the GitHub. So this part of the code basically does that. After that, we have to resolve the release APK from the metadata. Depending upon what is the extension type and everything, this might actually change. We have written a small Python script which allows us to resolve which particular APK build variant or whatever that we are running. And then we verify the signed APK that has lot of code which does that. And then the part where the Firebase comes into picture. To do the Firebase part, which is basically distribution to the Firebase app distribution, we need to install the Firebase CLI. So that is the reason why we are installing the Firebase tools, and then we are distributing the APK to the Firebase app distribution. And to do that, we need the app ID, testers group, and any release notes, if at all we have generated. And for a moment back, we had defined these constants in the environment specific secrets, that is here. And when this thing runs, I have already run it, it basically releases the application to the app distribution. We will now try to understand what happens once it gets uploaded to the Firebase CLI. Usually the tester first receives an invitation email from the Firebase. The APK is available, but it is not installed automatically. When the tester opens the invitation, the Google asks which account should continue to the app tester. If the tester selects an account that is not invited, then the Firebase blocks the access. The selected account must match the invitation. The tester now selects correct invited account and Firebase allows them to continue. App tester shows the available release and its notes. The tester can see which build this is and what need to be checked in that particular build. The tester chooses to install the pre-release build and waits for the installation to complete. Once the tester opens the release, Firebase records one active tester. We can now confirm that the release actually reached the tester. I can quickly show you how that mail actually looks like. This is how that mail looks like. And if the person clicks on get started and installs that particular application, then in the testers group, you can actually see how many releases have happened and how many active testers are there. So you can see that that person's name is recorded here. So with this, we have now completed the whole Android CI/CD series. We started by checking every code change before allowing it into the main branch. Then the main workflow built the release APK and signed it so that we could verify who created it. And finally, we delivered that signed APK to an invited tester. This completes the workflow we wanted to build in this series. So from code change to test delivery, our Android CI/CD setup is complete. Publishing to Google Play is a next possible step, but it needs a real application, production ownership, and store policies and rollout plan. That deserves its own separate discussion. For this series, tester delivery is the right finish line. We now have a complete and reliable Android CI/CD workflow. And that brings us to the end of Android CI/CD series. It has been a pretty long series. Thanks for your patience. And in the next video, we will get started with something new. And if you have something in your mind that you want me to address as a part of some series, do let me know. Please feel free to comment down. Thanks for your time. Take care. Bye. Brings us to the end of this particular video. Don't forget to like, comment, share the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care. Bye.